La 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 la. La 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 la. Sybel Specter, strange stories. Hello, and welcome to Sybel Specter's Strange Stories, or Psst. I'm Sybel Specter. I'm glad you heard my call. Was it the sirens, approaching, getting closer, always nearer, or the echo of laughter you can't drown out no matter how hard you try? I'll let you think the decision to be here was your own. It was. I have a story to tell you. I must, or else. Today, I bring you masks. Does this word conjure images of those homemade monsters of long ago? Or something more metaphorical, like all the masks you wear, so layered by now that you will never be able to find your original face again, if you ever had one. Masks are a bit of a sensitive subject in my hometown, Island. We understood that we were born on a movie set, most of us as background characters except for the lucky few. There were some, however, who didn't take it well once they discovered they were characters and all the limits that implied. They no longer understood themselves, their mundane tasks, or others as real. I remember one day, we were sitting in the tavern enjoying bawdy tales amongst sloshing ale when a man burst through the door, causing terror and chaos to erupt in slow motion around me. I recognized the man by his height. He could barely fit through the door, and his build, burly. He was another unnamed man who stacked stones all day, then took them down and restarted the next false morning. He had a pronounced brow ridge and a dumpling of a chin I wanted to squeeze. Now there were no lips or rosy cheeks. He had no flesh at all. Tissue clung to muscle. His face was a crimson mask that slicked his thick neck and stained his linen tunic. He disappeared after that. The people of Ilum didn't speak of him. I don't know if they could. At least not so deep that they would be stripping their skin or looking for faces to replace their own. I saw his body in the dungeon during one of my last scenes, the only one where I got to scream before I was thrown through the mirror, landing in the parking lot of the diner that changed my life. Audience, choose your mask and choose it well. Then defend it, as the little girl does in this story titled, Many Masks, Many Faces. Evelyn was wearing a rubber bunny mask. It was long-nosed and distorted in a way that all early 20th century photos of Halloween costumes looked, cheap and unwittingly powerful. I assumed Evelyn had come from the past, and I didn't question the logic of it. The mask covered her face and neck. Only brassy curls stuck out from the bottom, smooth and uniform as if someone had brushed them into submission. From the neck opening and the mesh eye holes, the smell of sweat and dust leaked out. It took longer than expected for the teacher to notice Evelyn because she'd slid into her seat quietly and smoothly, like she'd practiced the move. It was the first day of school, and Evelyn hadn't gone to orientation the day before. She hadn't walked into the sparsely decorated classroom, hands held by emotional parents who flanked her like bodyguards. The teacher, Mr. Copeland, jumped at the sight of her mask when he turned from the chalkboard. He repositioned his bifocals to better assess the possibility of an anthropomorphic bunny terrorizing the classroom. Then, hands on his hips, he threw his head back and laughed. The laugh was forced and booming. Several kids shrank in their hard plastic chairs. Mr. Copeland walked over to her desk. It looked like he'd pasted a smile over his own small, tight mouth. I believed that his eyes held powers. To hypnotize, to burn, to impale. Evelyn Sawyer? Evelyn Sawyer. You're new here, Mr. Copeland said. She tilted her head. An ear flopped. It's not Halloween yet, Evelyn. And anyway, masks are never allowed in school. A boy with a snotty nose and a bowl cut raised his hand. Why? I wear my Batman mask all the time at home. His voice lilted at the end of the sentence. He was hoping for permission to be Batman at school. Mr. Copeland opened his palms to address the room. His elbow stayed fixed to his narrow waist. What if someone commits a crime? It'd be hard to catch the bad guy if his face was hidden. I looked around the room, wondering which second grader could be a villain. Mr. Copeland turned back to Evelyn. He waited for her to do the right thing. to prove she wasn't a criminal. Evelyn sniffed, then searched her bag for a tissue. She held the bottom of the mask open with one hand and shoved the tissue inside with the other. Nothing would make her take it off. "Please remove the mask, Evelyn." She took out the tissue and threw it inside her desk. My other teachers had been endlessly patient with us. Far more patient than my mom or brother had ever been with me. But I could tell we wouldn't be babied in second grade. It was time to grow up. Mr. Copeland grabbed either side of the mask and began to lift, but Evelyn was quick to react. She knew how to defend it. Evelyn tilted her head down, pinching the bottom of the rubber between her chin and neck. Mr. Copeland yanked harder. His fingernails dug into her young skin. At first, it wasn't clear if he didn't realize what he was doing or if he meant to use pain to get her to bind him. Then he shoved his dirt-filled nails deeper into her neck. Evelyn finally made a noise. She screamed, a high-pitched, stuttering scream that made me wonder if the curls and fancy dress were part of the costume. Mr. Copeland took a breath, stepped back and looked at her. I thought he was going to walk up to the board and move her clothespin from green to red, or worse, send her to the principal's office. Instead, he took a step back, like a bull preparing to charge, and he did. He charged. He put one knee on the desk, knocking off the red notebook and crayon box she'd laid out after sitting down. His left hand grabbed both of her hands. His fingers closed easily around her tiny wrists. Even with her head still bowed, he managed to lift off the mask. I expected a monster or a sad story, maybe the kind of kid my mom cried about when she saw their tragedies broadcasted on the news. Evelyn wasn't very pretty or hard to look at. She had a small nose, red cheeks, and round eyes. Average. So average that maybe I'd wear a mask too. Before Mr. Copeland could walk away, Evelyn's head snapped forward. I saw a snake do the same thing once. She sunk her baby teeth into his forearm. He shook his arm back and forth, but she didn't release. Her nose crinkled and then shivered, which I knew meant she was biting harder. After a moment of still belief, Mr. Copeland swatted at the back of her knee. She winced but did not move. He shook his arm again. Her bite may have loosened, but she didn't give up. Finally, he held her shoulder and tore his arm away. A red circle had formed. It was fleshless. I looked for a cutout of freckled and hairy skin on the floor, but never found it. Evelyn reached for the mask he'd dropped. She put it on and adjusted it until it was centered once again. Mr. Copeland gripped his arm. Blood leaked out from between his fingertips. He was still assessing the damage when he said, "Principal's office, now." She didn't move. She didn't look scared. Evelyn observed him as if he was a math problem on the board. Mr. Copeland walked over to his desk and took out a first aid kit. His eyes scanned the room. He looked back down. "Lenny, you walk her there." I stood up, shaking with nerves and pride. We made eye contact, and she followed me out of the room. We'd walked 10 steps down the hallway when she paused. She lifted the mask up just past her nostrils and took a deep breath before sliding it back down. We stood for a moment, looking at each other, though I wasn't sure if she saw me. Then Evelyn ran. She ran all the way to the end of the hall where the doors opened to the playground. I prepared for a painful bright light when she burst through to the outside world, but it had started to rain. She didn't look back at me. I watched her until she was out of view, then I returned to the classroom. Mr. Copeland was sitting at his desk. He'd put Bill Nye the Science Guy on the fat TV. He had wrapped his arm with gauze, more than necessary. It was a thick glob around his arm, and I wanted to press on it. "Is she with the principal?" he asked me. "Yes, sir," I lied. Evelyn didn't return to class. Mr. Copeland never brought it up. He simply put tape over her name on the class behavior traffic light. I wonder if Evelyn still wears the face of a bunny. I find her commitment to the mask of her choice brave. Smart, too. You can get away with a lot if you never show your born face, and you're willing to take the mask off as you escape the scene of the crime. Evelyn understood herself from a young age in a way most never do. I was born a background character, but the one I became was more accurate than that girl who walked back and forth on that street with a wooden bucket. I contain multitudes, though. There are so many more people I'll be. I'm studying the posters on the wall. There are creatures, boy bands and pop princesses, sexy cigarette ads. They will be known as long as there is media to remember them by. I'm wondering whose eyes I want to look through, which face I'd like to paste to my own. Don't abandon me, audience. I will wear any mask you want me to. An ex-lover's or your mother telling you I love you. I'm sorry about your cat, that I need you to fulfill my role. Until next time.